Good afternoon and welcome to the Corporation of the Town of Kirkland Lake meeting of council held June the 26th, 2018. Before we start our meeting, I just have a notice to read that council will hold a public planning meeting on July the 10th to allow comments on the proposed zoning application at 51 4th Street / 38 Churchill Drive. So we'll start our meeting off, please, with a moment of silence. Thank you. We have the approval of the agenda.
It's moved by Councillor Morgan, seconded by Councillor Chamillard. The council approves the agenda for its regular meeting of June 6, 2018 as presented.
All in favor? It's carried. Is there any declaration of pecuniary interest? None declared. Petitions and delegations? There's none. Acceptance of the minutes and recommendations.
It's moved by Councillor Chamillard, seconded by Councillor Morgan. The council accepts the minutes of the following meetings: the meeting of finance held June 19th, 2018, and the regular meeting of council held June 19th, 2018.
All in favor? It's carried. Thank you. Reports of municipal officers and communications. Joanne, you're going to start off with item 6.1.
Okay, this is the advance poll dates for the municipal elections. In years past, I used to have to bring forward a bylaw to council to set the dates, but with the new municipal act that was done last year, this is now solely the responsibility of the clerk. So I just wanted to bring forward and let you know what the advance poll dates were for 2018. Which is Wednesday, October 3rd from 3 to 8 will be at the Royal Canadian Legion. Thursday, October the 11th, 2 to 7 will be at the Riverside Church in Swastika. Saturday, October 13th from 10 to 4 again at the Legion. And then Thursday, October the 18th will be at Extended Care TPR and the Kirkland District Hospital at different times of the day. And then of course we'll be at the Royal Canadian Legion on October 22nd for the full day, which is voting day. So a notice of this is going out with the tax bills this week, and then we will do other notifications in September and October. So what we have tried to do with setting the advance poll dates is to be able to hit everybody at different times of days and in different places. So because we are one poll, anybody can actually attend any of these voting dates. So one of the other things that we do have to bring forward to council is a report on how we've taken the OADA requirements into account. So that'll come back before probably in September we'll bring that. And then the next item, of course, is the Compliance Audit Committee. So that should take care of everything for the election.
Any comments, questions? Councillor Roman?
I'm just, is it necessary to have 2 days of advance voting at the Legion? Or?
No, it's not. Nothing is mandatory. I just did this because I thought Wednesday was a good day, Wednesday afternoon from 3 to 8, and then on a Saturday. It's always good to have a Saturday so people can come in on the weekend.
Okay.
And then Swastika, we always do Swastika because we do not have polls on voting day in Swastika, so we do try to make it so it's an afternoon and evening in Swastika.
Okay, thanks.
Yes. So the Compliance Audit Committee is something that is regulated through the Municipal Elections Act. We've been doing this now. This will be the third election. So it's regulated that we do have to have a committee in place to take a look at regularities for candidate financing. This year, things have really tightened up. It's now up to the clerk and anybody who wants to actually look over the finances and see if there are any inconsistencies. And then an application is to be made to the Compliance Audit Committee, and the Compliance Audit Committee is then able to look it through and decide whether or not this complaint should forward on to an auditor or to the courts. We've always gone in with our district, and we've set a committee compliance audit with our district. We did have a meeting with all of the clerks in the district, and the thought is that this is becoming a little bit more complicated now for just our just people in the community to sit on this. So E4M, who is a group of municipal expertise, have put a proposal together. It's on an as-need basis, and so our recommendation to council is that we do pass a bylaw setting them as the Compliance Audit Committee, and that will be for your consideration, bylaw 18-103.
Any comments, questions on the committee compliance? I guess the question I would have, and I'm not sure if you had covered it, but if the community does not need the services of this E4M, is there any cost to the community?
No, it's only, we pay only if we're needed. So if nothing happens, then the committee is not used.
Okay, any other questions? Kate, that'll be coming back as a bylaw?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Item 6.2, Supervisor of Planning and Land Development. I think Ashley, or Richard's coming up to speak on a request to waive tipping fees for salvage from Beaver Hill Yard. Welcome, Richard.
So what we have is a request from Mr. Jesse Siebert to waive tipping fees for the continuation of their cleanup efforts over here at the old salvage yard on Beaver Hill. The recommendation is that council waive 100% of the tipping fees associated with the cleanup of the property to help expedite the process. There would be budget implications and a loss of approximately $292 per load, and that's based on recently they've been hauling out some of the waste that they were approved previously, and each load in that particular truck was about $292. Last November, council had granted him waived tipping fees up to $1,000 limit, and he had a year to execute that agreement, of which recently he used up $878.85. Now he's requesting an additional 12 loads. That'll translate to about $3,500. So the options are, we could waive all the tipping fees associated with the request. We could waive 50% of the tipping fees, or we don't waive the tipping fees.
Richard, just a quick question on
Sure.
that is, when they're loading up the waste, or I guess it's not garbage, it's...
It's just...
Okay, when they're loading up what they're going to be dumping at the landfill, is it all combined, or is it separated?
They are separating the products that they're hauling, like woods, scrap metal, different things like that. So basically what you're going to end up with out at the landfill is just the residual waste from those source separation activities that they're doing here. The actual scrap metal and things like that, I believe, are going to be transported elsewhere.
Yeah, that's the business that they're
Yeah,
in, isn't it?
That's right, yeah.
But I guess it's, we sometimes think the end, sort of dictates the means, and, I think you only have to drive down Beaver Hill to see the difference of what it is today to what it was a few years back. And, yeah, so, I think it's a good thing, but it's for council's decision. Councilor Roman?
I agree with you. There's been a big improvement out there, but at the same time, I think, we were pretty generous with the conditions we gave him last time. Is he proposing any kind of time frame?
Actually, he's not, so it would be recommended that the council does institute a time frame should they grant his request.
Okay, because that'd be my concern, is that this be left way too open-ended. I can live with the additional 12 loads, because I really do want to see that cleaned up, and the impact at the landfill site would be minimal. It's possibly lost revenue, but we wouldn't necessarily get it anyways if we didn't grant this. I'd really like to see it cleaned up, but at the same time, I'd like to see a real tight timeline imposed. I don't know, maybe in the next 6 to 8 weeks or something along that lines.
Councillor Morgan?
Yeah, I'm not, I've never been particularly thrilled about waiving fees, but this is, again, and I have to agree with Councillor Roman, this is a bit of a unique circumstance where I think the whole community benefits by cleaning this up. I think Mr. Sibert is, you know, serious about doing this, and I want to make sure that, that we facilitate this. It looks like it's actually happening, and I also agree with Jim as far as putting a timeline. I wanted to see a timeline last time, and I certainly, and I think, you know, that's helped speed things along. So definitely, I'd like to see that again.
Councillor Kiley?
Yes, I agree. I'd like to see it cleaned up. It is an eyesore, and we've been looking at it for 30 or 40 years. Don't know if we've been privy to this information, but I understand the property is being sold, and I'm not sure what the intended usage for the new owners. Has there been any indication?
I'm not sure what the intended usage is at. Maybe Ashley would be able, the intended use of the property after it's cleaned up. Industrial.
What's the zoning now?
It's industrial. So it's got a legal non-conforming use apparently, according to the owner of the property.
Yes, please. Yeah.
I guess I'm just curious, Ashley, whether if they, because there's gravel and different things, or whether it's some kind of a quarry or something, they would have to apply for rezoning if that would be the case, eh?
Yeah, so the property itself right now retains well, he's advocating that it has a legal non-conforming use for the uses that are currently presently on the property. So the scrapyard, the processing of material, the storage of the aggregate itself. So they're not actually pit and quarrying anything on the site.
No.
They did a little bit of it just to try and flatten the site out for a construction perspective. But the intent is to just get the material there, process it, and leave it on site. So they're working with the Ministry of Environment and Climate Change with the processor, or the conveyor belt that's working there, to see whether or not there's anything required on that front. But other than that, as long as that use is considered a legal non-conforming use, there shouldn't be any issues from a planning standpoint.
Okay. I would support waiving the fees, but on a time limit of maybe 6 months. I think that's plenty of time to get the job done.
Councillor Shamiard?
Yeah, you're pretty generous, 6 months. I was gonna say, for me, it should be July 31st, which is 1 month, 5 weeks about, but the land will be sold, because like Pat said, and I know that too, it will be sold to somebody else, so if Mr. Siebert wants stuff out, he has to do it before he sells the land. I mean, if not, then it's somebody else, then they don't have access to the landfill, I guess, I don't know. Like, is that anybody that owns the place, or just one person will have the landfill rights? Like, it will be sold. So if Mr. A owned the land till, we'll say, end of July, then Mr. B buys the land. Mr. A has a right to go to the landfill, not Mr. B. And after he sold it, there's no more right. Right, that's what it is.
I would say it's property specific. If it's coming from that property, then we would make sure that it continues with that property.
And the likelihood is that they made an arrangement as to what kind of property they're actually selling, and it could be that it's conditional on Mr. Siebert having his stuff removed from there, so.
That's what I think,
Yeah.
yeah. So that's why I'm saying July 31st for me would be the date. Then he can sell it if he wants to. That's his problem.
Yeah, I guess, you know, setting a time frame is important, and I'm wondering, I've never been up there, but what would be a realistic time frame? I guess hopefully it would be done for sure before the snow falls, because,
So I'm surprised there's that much stuff left, really, because I go there, by there every day. There's not much stuff left. The back, yeah?
Yeah,
We
he's
we
got
don't
a-
see it from the road?
No, he's got approximately 12 triaxle loads left out there.
Oh, yeah?
what would be a realistic in your view?
I find July 31st would be fine. You could haul, 3-4 trucks a week easy.
Could I just suggest that he's also dealing with some of the regulatory agencies that may take up a little bit of extra time there? And he doesn't begin dealing with them until the beginning of July. So I would suggest easily that you go into September, or, you know, say, as Councillor Morgan said, before the snow flies, or Mayor, if you put it at October 1st, that allows him to deal with the regulatory agencies, allows him to get the stuff moved out in a reasonable timeframe then.
Yeah,
And
we've been,
safely as
we've been waiting a lot of years to get it cleaned up, so, you know, if we have to go till the end of September, is that fine with council? I know Councillor Roman would have perhaps liked to have seen it tighter, but we want to have something realistic, and would council be able to live with October 1st?
Yeah, certainly, if that's what the rest of the people.
No, can we put that in?
So it's moved by Councillor Morgan, seconded by Councillor Chamillard. The council approves the request from Jesse Siebert to waive landfill tipping fees for 12 truckloads of salvage yard debris at 470 Government Road West until October 1st, 2018.
All in favor? Thank you. Item 7 is the introduction and reading and consideration of bylaws.
It's moved by Councillor Chamillard, seconded by Councillor Morgan, that bylaw 18-098, being a bylaw to set the tax ratios for 2018, be read a first, second, and third time enacted and passed.
Any discussion? All in favor? Okay. Against? Okay,
3-2? Okay, so it's passed.
that's carried. Thank you.
It's moved by Councillor Morgan, seconded by Councillor Chamillard, that bylaw 18-099, being a bylaw to strike tax rates for 2018, be read a first, second, and third time enacted and passed.
Any discussion? All in favor? And all opposed? And that's 2. Thank you. And that's carried.
It's moved by Councillor Chamillard, seconded by Councillor Morgan, that bylaw 18-100, being a bylaw to adopt tax caption option tools for 2018, be read a first, second, and third time enacted and passed.
Any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? 3-2. That's carried. Thank you.
It's moved by Councillor Morgan, seconded by Councillor Chamillard, that bylaw 18-101, being a bylaw to appoint Victor Burchenko as the chief building official, be read a first, second, and third time enacted and passed.
All in favor? That's carried. Thank you.
It's moved by Councillor Chamillard, seconded by Councillor Morgan, that bylaw 18-102, being a bylaw to exercise the 3-year extension option for animal control services with Tracy Barb to March 31st, 2021, amending bylaw 15-018, be read a first, second, and third time enacted and passed.
Any discussion? Councillor Roman?
Is this at the same rate that it's
Yes.
been up till now?
Yes.
Okay, thanks.
All in favor? It's unanimous. Thank you. That's passed.
It's moved by Councillor Morgan, seconded by Councillor Chamillard, that bylaw 18-103, being a bylaw to appoint a compliance audit committee for municipal election finances, be read a first, second, and third time enacted and passed.
All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Notices of motion? None. Confirmation bylaw?
It's moved by Councillor Chamillard, seconded by Councillor Morgan, that bylaw 18-104, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council at its meeting held June 26, 2018, be read a first, second, and third time enacted and passed.
All in favor? Thank you. Councillors' reports? Councillor Kiley?
Yes, I had the opportunity of attending the Northeastern Ontario Municipal Association. It was a good opportunity to meet the other elected officials in our area. Interesting to note, many of the issues, or most of the issues that they have are the same as ours. Certainly something to work together on.
And thank you for coming, Councillor. Councillor Shamiard.
Yeah, this is a strange comment, but Alan this morning on CJKL mentioned that MNR was glad to report that there's only 10 bear calls from January to July 1st, basically, well, the first 6 months of the year, compared to 20 last year. Make us thinking there's less bear, but I mean, it's not less bear. We have to let them know it's not less bear. It's just people don't call anymore because it's a waste of time. I mean, on the weekend there was a bear in Champiouse. There was one on our street on Hillcrest. There was one on Balsam. And was there one in your? I mean, I don't have to get called. I just look on Facebook and there's comments everywhere about the bears. They're all over the place. And their region, I think the region's supposed to be 100 kilometer square, which is, I mean, I think it's Batachuan and Lisker and all this. But they only have 10 calls for 6 months. But there was 4 this weekend running around town. They have to know. Are they useless? Like, not useless meaning people don't call them, so it's a waste of time for them to call because they don't do anything anyway. And I'm not saying they're useless. I'm saying the system is basically useless. Why would you call if you're not going to do anything?
Yeah, and that's where the sort of the catch-22
Yeah.
is, right? If you don't call, then how can they act? I mean, they can only go on what people call, and I know where you're coming from. And they did make a good statement, though, that perhaps there are less, perhaps,
Well, that's what they're trying to say. but
because
that's not
of
true.
the food in the bushes, a little more plentiful. But I think, you know, if there is any less, I think it's mainly because people are being very cautious with their barbecues and things like this. And that's so very important to keep the bears that are wandering through town out of your backyard, you know, away from our pets and our children. But you bring up a good point, Councillor Shamiard. You know, if people aren't calling, I guess I look at it like if we don't get any calls, if we never got any calls on the snow plowing, then does that mean everything's fine with the snow plowing? Some people are fed up with it and don't want to call anymore, but where do you measure the line, right? But I certainly know where you're coming from, for sure. And that would be a good project for the media to investigate, to see why those are a little less.
Sorry, Alan.
More work.
But thank you for your comment, and I do know
Yeah,
where
they
you're
have to know
coming from.
it's still bear. They're still a danger animal.
Yes.
And they're still around, all over the place.
Yeah, no, there are for sure. Councillor Morgan?
Thanks for usurping my annual rant. But I have to agree with Jean-Guy. I mean, the system is absolutely a joke. In fact, if I'm not mistaken, our area was excluded from the pilot project for bringing back the spring bear hunt. You know, so once again, until some poor little child gets mauled in the schoolyard or something, you know, more egregious happens, you know, nothing is going to be done. I mean, it's really, I think, a hope and a prayer, the system that they've got set up right now. And yeah, I mean, you know, the province, and this goes back to the Conservative government from, you know, the last Conservative government when they canceled the spring bear hunt, all because of, you know, nonsensical political pressure from down southern Ontario. But it doesn't matter because there's no votes up here, so they will not listen to this issue. And, you know, until something really, really bad happens, I'm afraid that, you know, doesn't matter which party's in place, nothing will happen.
Councillor Kiley?
Yeah, something worthy of note, noticed on the Northern News website today, they announced that they're going to be weekly instead of Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So there's a bit of a restructuring in the newspaper industry, that's for sure. Their main, the main company, I forget the name. Yeah, announced that today. They said no job losses, but I guess less coverage, that's for sure, but
Less
at least they're still remaining open.
Less coverage for sure.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of people go online, a lot of people just like reading social media as their news coverage. You know, so everybody has their own preference, right? But yeah, it's I remember, as you say, we had newspaper every day, you know. Sign of the times. Today I had the pleasure of taking a tour of our new aquatic center. It was a fairly informal tour, but I must say I was, blown away at the facility. And they did take me up, I just wanted to mention, they did take me up up the slide stairs, and you don't really realize how high you are until you get up there and you look down. Certainly something I wouldn't do, but right now they're just putting on the finishing touches. We are, and I'm very, very pleased to announce that we're looking at a soft opening for the pool on July the 3rd, which is next Tuesday. That's next Tuesday, and that'll be at 6:30 till 8. We have a sponsor for that swim, and as well, we'll be having a number of regular swims for children and family and adults, and we're going to get all the schools, even though the schools are out, we're going to get them all back involved in coming to the pool. We're going to get the daycares involved. We have sponsors for these, so it'll be free swimming for the children during that time, and I think that'll be the 3rd to the 6th. And then we will be having a grand opening towards the latter part of July. And the real reason for this is we want to bring all our very generous funders back to the community complex to thank them. And so we'll be looking at a grand opening on towards the latter part of July. So we can end our meeting with that good news. Again, July the 3rd. 6:30 to 8 o'clock, we'll be opening up the pool for all our swimmers.
So it's moved by Councillor Morgan, seconded by Councillor Chamillard. The council adjourns its regular meeting of June 26, 2018.
All in favor? That's unanimous. Meeting is closed. Thank you.